Hey guys, welcome. Welcome back, welcome aboard, welcome home, however that sits or fits with you. Let's talk about what is up this week in terms of astrology and energy. This week, of course, being the week of October 2nd through the 8th of 2023. As always, let's dig right in. We start this week with Mercury in Virgo opposing Neptune, and then the Taurus moon conjuncting Uranus, quincunxing Mars, squaring Venus, sextiling Neptune, and then trining both Mercury and Pluto at the end of the day. So this is a day of, I want to call it like dream speak, right? So there may be some jarring revelations that feel like they're blindsiding you. Here's the deal. Resist the urge to shift into an old trauma response. Like, be present, right? And really be aware of any times or ways or places where you feel yourself shifting into fight, flight, or freeze, right? Just so be really present. And instead, maybe allow yourself to drift into a different F mode. Try fantasy, right? Just stop and be present in the moment and ask yourself, what is possible right now if I don't choose fight, flight, or freeze? What could happen, right? And just be mindful. Just be mindful of that presence. Also, be mindful of your risks, right? And weigh your stability against the lure of kind of excitement. Think about your long-term goals, right? Long-term presence, long-term plans. Just kind of be in that. And then on Tuesday, the moon moves into, thank you, Gemini, at the very beginning of the day, 3 minutes into the day Central Time. And then that Gemini moon is going to square Saturn. Mercury comes right back and trines Pluto. The moon in Gemini will trine the sun. And then at the end of the day, Venus in Leo will quincunx Neptune. So your powers of persuasion are really going to be on point on Tuesday. The key here is to really use your powers for good and mind your karma, because if you don't, those consequences can definitely be quite a jolt later. So pay attention to your self-game. Leave some time for kind of some reflection, some deciphering, some rumination. And remember that your internal needs have to be met too. So make sure that you're coming back to that sense of home. And when we talk about home, when it relates to Venus, especially Venus in Leo, we really want to be mindful of the fact that we're talking about what home feels like for you, what it looks like for you, what it smells like and tastes like and sounds like for you. And that is a fully self-reflexive question only you can answer. So be present, right? Just be present in that sense of home and what you require. On Wednesday, the 4th, the Gemini moon will sextile Chiron early in the morning, and then Mercury moves into Libra. And so your communication is going to become a little more about balance. It's going to become a little more about the way that you are looking for cooperation in relationship, looking for peace in your relationship. So just note that change. That moon in Gemini is going to trine Mars and then square Neptune later in the day. So Mars is also conjuncting the South Node. So this is kind of about muscle memory, right? This is about muscle memory on all the levels and in all the dimensions. And so the key here is that muscle memory might feel shocking. It might be like, wait, I didn't realize I understood that. I didn't realize I knew how to do that. I didn't realize that I had that in my arsenal. And guess what? That's okay. Let it shock you. It might be an absolutely welcome surprise, and I mean, of the best kind, right? So don't second guess it. Whoa, hey, I'm throwing cards. Anyway, don't second guess it. If your expressions are a little bit chattier, if you feel a little more prone to oversharing, that's great. But also be present to where you feel a little overcritical, and sit with how that's going to affect your relationships. Right? Especially the one with yourself. So act in accordance with how that feels in your heart, right? On Thursday the 5th, the Gemini moon will sextile Venus, will quincunx Pluto, and then at 7:32, again Central Time, the moon moves into Cancer. And that Cancer moon is going to square Mercury and trine Saturn before Mercury himself, quincunxes Saturn later, and then Mars is going to do the same thing, quincunxing Neptune before the day is over. So this is a day where you want to go deep, right? So do it. Set your fears aside and absolutely dive into your vulnerability, even though that Cancer moon is going to want to pull you back and say, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? You just keep saying yes, 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 right? Toss your cloak off. Be unshrouded in the world and claim your heart. It is beautiful. And so if the afternoon begins to feel a little bit unsure, a little bit messy, pry yourself open even wider, right? Let the light and the love shine all the way in, because your heart is always going to run on divine time, not your time, right? So the way that we hide and cloak ourselves is really just a bid for control and safety. And guess what? Life is not controllable. Life is not about feeling safe. Life is about feeling whatever comes. So let that be. On Friday the 6th, Venus is going to quincunx Pluto, and that Cancer moon is going to square the Sun, is going to sextile Venus and sextile Jupiter and square Chiron. So Friday is a day to kind of lay low if you feel like it. The weekend is probably going to feel a little bit more delicate in terms of what you require to navigate consciously, mindfully, intentionally. And so if you find yourself trying to fold back in upon yourself, right, after Thursday being in that space of reminding yourself to be wide open, and Friday you kind of want to fold back in on yourself, just be aware, be aware of the places that your old stories and your old habits start to get loud. And if that happens, your solution, try to get quiet, right? Don't try to compete. Instead, opt out of that coulda, shoulda, woulda game, right? You don't have to play it. And so if those old stories are starting to ramp up in the background, just get quiet, get centered, get focused, stay in your lane, right? And again, go back to home as that beacon, right? And also be fearless in your defense of your own space and your own heart and your own peace. On Saturday, the 7th, that Cancer moon is going to sextile Uranus overnight. And then the Libra sun will quincunx Jupiter, also in the wee hours. That Cancer moon is going to trine Neptune and square Mars and oppose Pluto before moving into Leo around dinner time. And then that Leo moon will quincunx Saturn in the evening. So here's the key to Saturday. Don't sweep your feelings under any rugs, right? Claim your truths. They are yours, and they deserve to be claimed. However, just as important is creating and honoring that the dialogue that may come as a result, right? So if you claim your truth, someone that you're claiming it to, if this is about a relationship, you absolutely get the privilege of honoring their truth as well. So be concerned with those relationships, right? And later, really pay attention in case your feelings become a little bit self-involved. There's nothing wrong with that, but be intentional about it and not ego-driven. Remember that the goal is peace and victory, when we're talking about truths, right, we're not really necessarily talking about my truth at war with your truth, unless of course that's really what you want. Like, and in that case, you're not concerned about that relationship anyway, right? If you're at war with someone over the truth of what happens between you, that's probably not a relationship that you're concerned with long term. Really? Right? Think about that. And so, if you have to convince someone that your truth is valid, it's probably not a relationship that you're going to choose to navigate long term. So again, ask yourself, what's your goal? If your goal is peace, and you know you're not going to convince someone of your truth, then the peace you're giving is to yourself. And if you're in a conversation or a dialogue about the truth between you, make sure that you're staying open and being relationship driven, because everyone's truth is as valid as yours, right? Some people see things differently. Your job is to figure out what you do as a result, right? So just be mindful about the way that your relationships are in relation to your truth. On Sunday, the 8th of October, that Leo moon is going to sextile Mercury. Mars in Libra will square Pluto. Venus moves into Virgo. So as we come out of this big Venus and Leo cycle, where home is all about me, 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 as Venus moves into Virgo, you have some options. Your options are to start to pick apart yourself and everything that you haven't done, or to double down on what you wish to do in terms of routine, in terms of self-care, in terms of how you are or are not creating your sense of home, right? You get to pick, so pick wisely. And then that moon in Leo is going to square Jupiter late in the evening. So this is a day of, I'm going to say, go gently, move gently, walk gently, speak gently. And that includes not only the conversations that you're having to yourself, but also, as we talked about, those ones that you're having with the rest of the world, the people that you are in relationship with, the people that you wish to continue your relationships with. So go gently. Listen, Mars squaring Pluto is a big deal. And this, right, it's going to have your nerves and most likely everyone else's nerves. Yeah, there we go. Hey, Jans, do you see that? Your nerves and everyone else's kind of on the edge and a little bit raw. So this is not a day for flagrantly incendiary expressions, right? If you're going to be flagrantly rude, or if you're going to call in a war, you're going to get it today. And this means to yourself or another, right? Venus moving into Virgo has a tendency to want to be exacting. It can also be super precise in a beautiful way. So just walk the line between honest and necessary. And it's probably wise to not be the person spoiling for confrontation. It's never really a good look, but right now, in terms of Sunday, all of these aspects, it is somehow going to be very more consequentially ugly in terms of how those consequences ripple out, right? So instead of minding anyone else's drama, choose to focus your attention on yourself, on creating your routines, on creating your habits, on feeding yourself, your health, your home, your wholeness, especially in terms of that sense of home, and perhaps even really starting to apply that to the home as your temple, right? So healing yourself is your business, and healing the world comes as a result, right? So let's get into these and see what we've got. So on Monday, the 2nd, we've got the King of Pentacles and the 3 of Pentacles. So this is really wonderful energy, right? This is, I am resourced, and how can we put that into action, right? So we talked about this as being that day where we really are mindful of any revelations that come in and blindside us and resisting the urge to shift into our standard trauma responses. Being very mindful and really talking about our risks and our stability against the lure of excitement, and always choosing the long term, right? So the Three of Pentacles is about collaboration. It's about joint projects. It's about how we do things with others. And since we're in Libra season, and since we are having all of this Libra energy, especially this Mars and Leo moving into this square with Pluto, what you really want to ask yourself is, okay, what am I doing, and how is it creating my future, right? Where am I in relation to that? And so if you're talking about your stability as your goal, guess what? You already know this. How are you going to put this into action with others? Be mindful of your risks. Weigh your stability against the lure of excitement. And again, resist those urges to shift into fight, flight, or freeze. Try to move into the fantasy aspect. What could happen? What is my possibility? What's my highest outcome? And oh, look, I do have the resources to put this into action. The key is you do. It's about choosing to perhaps even ask for help, ask for facilitation, ask for insight or counsel, right? Be aware of who you are in relation to the rest of the world. And how you create, not only from that, but as that, right? On Tuesday, we've got the Devil and the King of Wands. Yeah, we have a lot of interesting energies this week. Excuse me. So we have the Devil and the King of Wands, right? This is that day where I talked about your powers of persuasion being on point, making sure that you're minding your karma and using your consequences for good. Otherwise, you're going to have a jolt in consequence later. And really witnessing that if you need to pay attention to your self-game, that's what you want to do. All right. Making time for reflection, right? So this is about those things that we either do as reaction, right, or habit, or because they feel great, right? The Devil is about 3D attachments. And the King of Wands is, there's a whole bunch of Dr. Feelgood in this guy, right? So we want to make sure that we're paying attention and that we're really circling back to our highest and best, not just what feels great in the moment, right? There's something about delayed gratification that really allows us to play this long game and not be in the instant gratification segment, right? And with the King of Wands, we understand that really lights me up. That really makes my life inspired and juicy and gives me a reason, a passion, right? But is it in my highest and best? This is the question. If you're not using those powers for good, then the consequences always come back, right? They always come back. We know this. The question is, what lesson do you want to learn as a result? And only you can prevent that forest fire, right? All right, on Wednesday, we have the Five of Pentacles and the Nine of Swords. So, okay, Five of Pentacles, Nine of Swords. This is about the ways we are haunted by what we believe we don't have, what we believe we missed out on, what we believe we're lacking, right? So all of those things that you're haunted about when it comes to I'm left out, I don't have this, I don't have enough of this, I'm afraid I'm going to run out of this, right? Or I just feel like I missed this opportunity and I'm bent about it. I can't quite get over it. Well, here's the deal. This is that day that we talked about Mars conjunct in the South Node. So really triggering your muscle memory on all the levels, in all the dimensions, and letting that happen, right? Not second guessing that your expressions are always required to be this, that you can have that potential. You can access that energy that says, you know what? I think it's okay. I think I can trust this, right? And we talked about how we're going to really work on acting accordance are acting in accordance with how everything that you have and are and do affects your relationships, right? So if you're haunted by those things and you always feel like you're the person maybe giving too much or not, right? You have to stop and consider how your actions feel in accordance with your heart. And that's the only bellwether you have, right? Is this in priority with, or in line with my priorities? Is it? And if not, of course you're feeling a scarcity. That's how we shift out of it, right? But remember that the Nine of Swords is an idea, right? An idea. And the Five of Pentacles is a perception of what we have or don't have. This is just a perception. You're always fully resourced, right? You're always fully resourced. On Thursday, we have the Seven of Wands and the Magician. So the Seven of Wands is about being in a position to have to defend a thing, right? Knowing what your priority is. And the Magician says, well, you have all the power to do those things, to maintain your manifestations, right? And sometimes the question is not, how did I get this, right? I have conjured this beautiful situation or circumstance or person or thing in my life. How do I protect it? But it's also about remembering that you can't lose a thing that's for you, right? So if you're going to go deep today, if you're really going to set those fears aside and be open, right? Seven of Wands asks you, what is your priority? You spent all this time manifesting this thing. Now, are you going to close down? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You have to open up, be grateful, and trust the process that brought this to you, brought your abundance to you, right? We're not sitting here worrying about, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. We're saying, oh, thank you. And that thank you is the natural expansion that comes as a result of witnessing the results of your manifestation. So anytime that you start to feel that, that hesitation, that pull to contraction, nope, open up, right? Stay open. Here we have so much King of Knight energy. I like it. On Friday, the 6th, we have the King of Cups, the Knight of Pentacles. So this is about new ways and opportunities of really starting to feel fulfilled. And so we talked about this as a day to lay low if you need to start to navigate in a more delicate way and to really witness your old stories, your old habits, right? The Knight of Pentacles is all about routine behavior, endurance, stamina, the same thing. Like this is kind of traveling in a rut. And the King of Cups says, how does that feel? Right? And so if those stories start to get loud, what do? We get quiet, right? We still the waters and we do not compete with any kind of noise that those old stories or old habits are going to kick up, right? We just absolutely ignore those echoes and get very quiet and very still and focus on what's inside. We are not going to play that coulda, shoulda, woulda game. We're not. We're going to stay in our own lane and we're going to be fearless in our defense of our own space, right? Of your own heart, of your own peace. This is your job, right? You have the energy. Are you putting it toward all those old stories? Or are you putting it toward creating the power beneath your new story? I mean, it sounds like a natural decision. So good luck with that. On Saturday, look, we've got the Two of Cups and we've got the Tower. This is an interesting combination. So let's unpack it a little bit. We talked about this as the day to claim your truth. We talked about this as the day to witness how you're concerned with your relationships in claiming your truth. And absolutely being intentional in the give and take in terms of conflict and communication and resolution. The Tower says things might get a little bit explosive, right? We know that this Mars square Pluto is coming. We know this. The Two of Cups says, mind your relationships. Sure, things can feel and even be explosive, but what you do as a result should always be filtered through the lens of relationship. Always filtered through the lens of how your heart wants to be witnessed. And again, we talked about this as if a relationship feels like the communication is a war or a battle, then it's probably not filling your cups. Well, shocker, you don't have to engage there. You get to say, no, thank you. I'm going to choose me. I'm going to choose something else. I'm going to choose where my cups get filled. And that is not ego-driven. That is an intentional choice of your own peace, right? That kind of victory is a victory for and of yourself. So sometimes by not grabbing the rope and playing tug of war, you've already won, right? You've already won. How about that? On Sunday, the 8th, we have the 8 of Wands and the Knight of Wands. This is a lot of movement, especially for a Mars square Pluto day. So I am going to say to you, if your nerves are raw, if everyone else's nerves are raw, and we're really not going to start throwing bombs at people, right? We're not going to have flagrant incendiary expressions. We're not going to pick fights. We're not going to be that person. Instead, we're going to focus our energy, attention, our passion, our inspiration, our heart, our motivation, our dedication, and our devotion to ourselves, to our health, to our habits, to our home, to our wholeness, to our own healing, right? We're going to let the world be what the world is, and we're going to choose ourselves. And if that means you have to take a pause, then you do it. Because guess what? Just because we're talking about motion, you know, Knight of Wands is motion, 8 of Wands is motion. This is how we move forward. Move forward toward yourself, right? Consider your avenue of direction internal, right? You can move very quickly in terms of your own environment, your own internal environment, your own home environment, your own habits. Focus on yourself for a change, perhaps, for a change, right? We have got Abracadabra, one of my very, very favorites. This is so you speak it, so it shall become, right? And so mind your talk. All week we talked about these Mercury transits and these Mercury aspects in terms of how we're moving toward this peace, right? Heart's peace. And so if you keep saying, I'm so stressed out, okay. Sure you are. If you keep saying, I'm so unhappy, okay, tell a new story and see what happens. Or simply choose to tell the story. If you have never told yourself the story of your home and health and happiness and habits and your heart, how can you expect those to come true? Right? Maybe just tell the story. Maybe just tell the story. Okay. We have Envy, and I think this is an interesting card to grab in this week. So let's work on what this message is here. So this card, the description is lack and dissatisfaction. This card shows a woman holding a huge pearl in one hand and a platter of coins and pearls in the other. She stands in a silver room looking out at a golden city on the horizon. She has a life of value already, but she ignores that and longs for the shining prosperity she sees elsewhere. Okay? Do you hear this message? Right? Do you hear this message already? Instead of feeling happy and fulfilled, her desire for more only causes a deep sense of lack and dissatisfaction, and that energy shows in her dress. This card upright tells you to let go of the jealousy and acknowledge the blessings you already have in your life, right? You're not lacking anything. You're not lacking anything. You already have everything you've come to conjure, right? After all, when you envy others, it only attracts more to them, not you. Notice that all you have, and thank the universe for it. Now is the time to move from a consciousness of lack to one of value. With this shift, all things change, right? So we're talking about really moving your brain and your heart and your soul from what am I missing? Where am I missing out? What don't I have? Look at all those things I see that I want, that I need, to, no, as a matter of fact, look, I have everything that I could possibly want. And in fact, I can create it for myself, right? Simply for my own energy of manifestation. So the way that you're going to choose to be in relation to this energy this week is either going to magnetize your heart, your desires, your health, your habits, your home to you, or it's going to simply create more for you to look at in the world. And if your position is envy, if your position is one of lack, guess what? That's literally what you're amplifying. So please start to be aware of that pattern in your speech, in your languaging, in your expectation, in your energy, right? In your very energy, and witness where you can shift and change it, right? As Mars squares Pluto, you have the capability to really light some fires in a positive way, right? Squares are dynamic tension, right? And once we gather the energy of both of those sides of a square, we can really put forth some power. And as Venus moves into Virgo, literally 6 minutes after that square perfects, be aware that you have the power to change your life. Again, healing yourself is part of your mission. It's the first primary cornerstone of your mission. It's where you start to heal the world. So I wish you all the best this week. I wish you nothing but being in your own presence and as your own best and highest vision, right? So find that quiet. Don't compete with the outside, right? Don't fall prey to your coulda, shoulda, woulda. You can't. You shouldn't have, and you wouldn't. You only did or did not. You can only do or do not from here. So claim it. Claim it, claim it, claim it. Your victory is your peace. Your peace, right? Big blessings, guys. Take care.